Hi, my name's Cindy. I'm presenting a paper today for Alphacrucis College for my Bachelor of Theology on critical thinking and lifelong learning for Christians and for and against. Okay, so critical thinking. We know through Psalms and Proverbs, mostly Proverbs, that and the wisdom literature, that Christians are meant to live a certain way. We know that we're meant to engage with the community in a certain way that the wisdom literature teaches us how to behave. It gives us lots of wisdom, gives us lots of morals, ethics. They're standard in the wisdom literature. So why would we need critical thinking as Christians? This is what I'm looking at. Okay, so critical thinking is not taught in Australia until bachelor level studies. There's children in school, in secondary school, do not get taught it. Lisa Melderman wrote in the Journal for Adult Literacy that critical thinking should be taught in secondary schools as a way to develop the children's ability to go through the paperwork and know who they're writing about, to be able to pull questions apart and put them back together and think about what they're learning, not just repeat what's written in front of them. At the moment, they're taught, don't think. We don't care what you think. We want you to remember what you've learnt. I say we're not interested in what you think. We need to know that you've remembered everything that you've been taught. So she argues that they actually should be taught critical thinking in secondary school, thus making them easier to navigate society when they leave school. For Christians, this would help us immensely because it will teach us how to go through the text that we're reading, interpret our Bibles more effectively. It would teach us Ingolf Delfer says that it would teach us what the author's intentions were, who the original audience were. It teaches us how to interpret our Bible better if we know the history of the people involved. It also teaches us, because we're interpreting the Bible better, Miriam Carmel also says it teaches us to focus on the doctrines that are being taught and know which doctrines are being actually taught, so we don't get swayed by doctrines that the Bible actually doesn't teach. Chu Lei Li says it gives us a deeper understanding of the text that we're reading, which is really important. In India and China recently, or not recently, but what they've done is install, through critical thinking, they've looked at their society as a whole, and they've decided that the people there are not as educated as what they would have liked. So what they've done through critical thinking is they've gone and they've installed what we would call community centres. They call them lifelong learning centres, and the people in society are coming in, learning things for free. They've come in and they've learnt things that have taken them home with education, so they can now bring in income for their family and made them less dependent on welfare. So this lifelong learning for them has created a whole new society, both locally and enabled them to make a huge difference on the whole nation, because they've got so many more learned people around. So one question remains for us then as Christians. I want to read this. Social learning, Joseph Stilts and Bruce Greenwood write, social learning changes into societal beliefs that lead in turn through the political system a different public action. And that's what actually happened in China and India. They've changed the whole society. But for Christians, what this means for us is it makes us relevant. It makes us relevant in our community, because people are not going to want to come to us if they think that none of us have got anything to say that's not what they're living. Okay, so it teaches it teaches us to stay up to date. We need to make a conscious decision as God's people to place ourselves in the center of what's happening and learning to best serve those people that we're meant to serve. This is what we're meant to do. We're blessed to be a blessing, not for ourselves, but for the world. How are we going to be the light of the world if we don't get out there and become if we don't get out there and learn the best way to do it? We need to rise up and be the best people we can for those that we're meant to serve. And if we don't do that, we won't be relevant in society, and we won't be able to do everything that God wants us to do at this point in time. We owe it to God to do all we can to be his image bearers. And to do that, we need to be learned to do this to the best of our abilities. Okay, thank you.